This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, everyone. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Abam. We continue in Mishna Berura, Daf Hashavua. We're learning Siman Lamed Zayin, Sif Gimel. Siman Lamed Zayin, Sif Gimel. We said that really the mitzvah is to wear tefillin all day, but because one requires a guf naki, for A, not to pass gas, and B, not to divert your mind, not everyone can be careful, so the minhag is not to wear it the whole day, but at least to b'shas tefillah. Now, when we say you can't be mesiach das, I don't know why the Mishna Berura doesn't explain what that means here. I happened to see yesterday in the Chayei Adam, looking up a different thing, whether you're allowed to kiss your tefillin during Kriya Shema. That's the topic of tonight's Shiur. But Mesiach Das doesn't mean you're now to think about a different subject. Mesiach Das doesn't mean, oh, I'm wearing tefillin, I can't think about the construction I'm doing, or whatever it is. Mesiach Das means Schoik v'kalas roish. That's the definition of Mesiach Das. Mishna Berura doesn't say here, maybe we'll come across it elsewhere. But now the question is, so at what age should one begin wearing tefillin? Says the Mechaber, Katan hayodea lishmar tefillin b'tahara. What?
Simon Mem Daled talks about it.
Okay. Thank you. Katan hayodea lishmar tefillin b'tahara. Katan who knows how to guard his tefillin impurity, shelo yishan, not to sleep, shelo yafiach bahem, and not to pass gas. Hagav v'shalo yikanos el beis hakisei. The Rama adds not to enter in the bathroom. Chayiv aviv liknos le'tefillin l'chanchai. The father is obligated to purchase tefillin for him to train him. So the question is, why do you have to buy? Why can't you borrow for them? But the lashon of Mechaber is you have to buy. Haga v'yesh omrim d'hai katan davka shu ben yud gimel shana v'yom echad. The Rama says, no, not a katan hayodea lishmar tefilav b'tahara. Katan is 13 years in one day. Even though we put on tzitzis earlier, we don't put on tefillin, says Rama, a day before 13. V'chei nagu, this is the custom, ve'in l'shanos, don't change. Says the Mishna Berura, hayodea, the koydem l'chein rasha laniach tefillin, before that you're not allowed to put on. V'lav chinuchu, it's not chinuch, it's bad chinuch. It's bad chinuch, right? It's like bringing a 3-year-old to shul. It's called bad chinuch. The father says, I'm being mechanech my kid by bringing him to shul at 4 years old. Exactly, you're being mechanech him. You're being mechanech him to be a lifelong talker, kiddush club. The kid can't daven, so why bring him to shul? You're training the kid to come to shul and not to daven. And to disturb. Anyway, L'chanchai, the mitzvahs hanachasan, in how to put it on, v'chein lalam dahadinim an sarchamazan, to teach him the dinim that are applicable. There's a big shaila about a katan who puts on tefillin, whether he should make a bracha. So according to Rama, it's not an issue. He starts putting on at 13. But if you're going to start putting on a month or two before, is he going to make a bracha? So it's interesting, he brings from the Ragged Shavar, he does not make a bracha unless the father helps him. You know, if the father helps him to make sure he's doing it right, he can make a bracha. Father's not helping him and the kid is sort of, figuring it out on his own, should not make a bracha. He brings from the Evan Shasiya, the Zara Emes, that once you're giving him a shot to put it on, you let him make the bracha. Okay. Dafka. The Ramah says, the high katan dafka, v'koydem achein ein manichay lo b'shtfilan. You don't let him, afilu yers, even if he wants. There's no way he could guard his tefillin. Ben yud gimel shanim, hainu afilu mlehevi shtei sarais. Now this is interesting. Even though we wait for 13, but what if you know for sure? In other words, usually we say there's a chazaka of Rava. But we don't rely on that for Dairaisa. Right? For Dairaisa, we don't rely on chazaka de Rava. So l'chor, you could ask, how can this katan put on tefillin and make a bracha? Isn't bracha levatala a dairaisa? So why do we?
Speaking to the Mechaber's point, of someone who's a katan who's yadei lishmar tefillin. This person this child who's 13 on one day, even though he's technically still a katan, we can rely on the fact that he's yadei. That's what katan here is dafka this kind of katan. A katan is when you give Shan Yavecha. Anyone over your gimel is mechuyev. Obviously, he's not talking about that. I mean, anyone who stays Saracen is a gadol is no longer a katan.
Yeah, but he didn't bring shtei sarais, right?
Right, exactly. That's why he's still talking about a katan here. Or he's asking how could the Rama paskin?
I mean, according to the Rama, why are you waiting till 13? Because he can't guard the tefillin, right? So then, even if he is 13, but if he's loy hevi shtei sarais, so maybe guarding the tefillin is not dependent on godless. It's once you're 13, you could guard the tefillin. Also, it might not be a bracha levatala if he doesn't do it right, because if he's not a gadol, then for him it's not a bracha levatala. Meaning, for a katan to make a bracha levatala, it's not a bracha levatala. So for this, meaning like miman of shach, if he's not a gadol, so it's not a bracha levatala either. Okay. V'chei noagu. The Rama says the minhag is we wait till 13. That's what the Rama writes, not any sooner. That's interesting. V'achshav noagu lohaniach shnayim ashlosh chodashim kadem hazman. Now the minhag is to put it on 2 or 3 months before. Says that's from the Magen Avram. V'ayim bibir halacha. Now the Aruch HaShulchan says that the minhag is to do it 1 month before, and I believe that's what most people do. Most people do 1 month before. My minhag is by b'yayim.
Chassidim do by b'yayim.
Chassidim do by b'yayim.
Why is while making a bracha for a cotton, this mitzvah different from any other mitzvah?
Because tzitzis, he's being mekayim the mitzvah. But if he's not shomer the tefillin, is he mekayim the mitzvah? If his guf is not naki, is he mekayim the mitzvah? He shouldn't be wearing it at all. But yeah, but we don't. But we have to maybe be choishesh. Let's see some of the bir halacha over here. The second bir halacha v'yesh oimrim that this katan is davka 13 years and 1 day. Kasav ha'prima gadol mezal ha'shanei ve'ini yodeya im hu yud gimel shanam ezachiv yesh halaviv. I don't understand. If we're talking about a 13-year-old, then why is the father mechuyev to buy him tefillin? There's no mitzvah of chinuch anymore. How could the Mechaber says a katan hayedei lishmaduv, the father's chayv to buy him to him? Says Rama, no, this katan is davka 13. Well, then you're not mechuyev to buy him tefillin anymore. So it says in Prima Gadim, we're talking about 13 years old. V'loi hevi shtei sarais. So therefore, there is a mitzvah of chinuch. He's not mechuyev in mitzvahs yet. Someone who's 13, who doesn't have 2 sarais, is not mechuyev midaraisa in mitzvahs. So we know he doesn't have 2 hairs, and the father's mechuyev to buy him tefillin. Beforehand, the father shouldn't give him the tefillin. But it sounds like at this age he could guard his tefillin. Look in the next bir halacha. The high katan davka perush. Davka 13. Va'az talia b'im yodeh lishmar tefillah shazu shitas bali iter k'moishma furasham. I asked the bir halacha, why aren't we careful b'zman hazeh to say, okay, I understand you're 13. But you can't even hold on to a pair of socks, so why should I buy you a pair of tefillin? Why don't we see some kids putting on 14, some kids 17, some kids when they're 22, right? So he says, the Rama is not so adamant that you have to be 13 only regarding putting on tefillin before bar mitzvah, but not regarding that we can't trust you that you're not gonna have a guf naki. One more bir halacha v'chei noagu. I'm in Mishna Berura v'ayim primagon shemtzad livsoy k'mosh kazabach dal kalpanim katan ben yud beis shana haloy mei talmud u'mevin yachal aniach tefillin. Basically, if the kids are already learning Gemara at 12 years old, then he should start wearing tefillin not 2 or 3 months before, at age 12. And certainly Bisman Azeh, that at age 12 the kid already has to learn Reb Baruch Ber and Reb Shimon Shkop, he should wear tefillin. But the answer is he doesn't understand Reb Baruch Ber and Reb Shimon Shkop. And he doesn't understand the Gemara either. It says Loy made Gemara. Haloy made Talmud. Umevin. He has to understand it. So the fact that they sit in class already from they're 5 years old learning Yerushalayim Achroinim doesn't matter. Okay, let's start Siman Lamed Ches. Din mi heim hachayavim b'tefillin v'abturim. Who is obligated in tefillin and who is exempt? Choyla me'ayim patur b'tefillin. Someone who has some kind of intestinal difficulty, ailment, is exempt from tefillin. Haga afilu ein lo yitzar, even if he's not in pain. Avol shar choylim mitztar b'choyav ein dait mishav so patur v'im lav chayav. Other illnesses, if they're in pain and they can't muster the focus, then they're patur. But if they're not in pain, they should wear tefillin. But choyle me'ayim, it's not dependent on sar. It's that you should not wear tefillin in such a condition. Says Mishna Berura, choyle me'ayim. Vu'adin misha shasa mashke hamishalshal. Likewise, someone who drinks liquid, that diuretic. Someone's going for a colonoscopy, so he has to drink that liquid. So you're patur from tefillin. Patur mishum tefillin by guf naki. Mitfillin misha bita mitzatzil machas choyli v'avru alav shloshim yom shalahi nicham kishachazim nicham ein tzarich levarach shachiyanu. You don't have to make a shachiyanu. The Dirsha brings from the Chavos Yair, Siman Reish Lamed Zayin, that since this mitzvah does not come periodically, it's a personal circumstance, you don't make a shachiyanu. Tsar, afilu im hoylech b'shvakim rechav pater. Even if the guy with the intestinal ailment, he's walking around, he's going shopping, he's pater. It's not only he's pater, he's not allowed to. If he could keep himself clean for Shema and Shema Esrei, then he should quickly put on Chumash the Kamasav base pater. Now, then he said if somebody is sick and there ain't daitem yeshavas alav pater, so that means somebody have a headache and they can't bear it. You're pater. Shema mi. Why you pater? Shema mitoch chatzar yasir daitem mehem. You might divert your mind from the tefillah. Now, this doesn't sound like what I said in the beginning of the shir, that Hesach Hadas is Schoik v'Kalas Roish. It sounds like focus. But here he says, V'mroitza lahachmar atzai rashoy. It could be, just off the cuff, there are two levels of Hesach Hadas. L'chatchila, you're not supposed to be Mesiach Das on the tefillin, like by the tzitz. You're always supposed to be focused on the tefillin, and if you start to forget about it, you're mashmesh. But it's not usher to wear the tefillin if you're going to divert your mind. It is usher to wear the tefillin if you're going to have Schoik v'Kalas Roish. It seems like there might be levels of Hesach Hadas. This level would exempt you, but you could be machmer. Misha libay araim. Dahainu shalach b'mechnesam levad ulamalahu araim. Someone who is bare-chested. He's not wearing a shirt. He's wearing pants. Ve'in b'chlal zeh masha b'beis hatzar pasor. We're not talking about, he's unbuttoning the top two buttons. He's not wearing a shirt. Lo yanech tefillin. What's the problem? Da'avdil v'arch v'shaykim sh'arvasim mechusa k'dim mechusim and ayin dalad afilach einochin she'im megula liba v'yanech tefillin. It's not proper that his heart should be uncovered and he wears tefillin. Question is, why not? What's the problem? Let's say the guy took a neder, he's not going to wear shirts. L'chara, it's like, you could say Pasha, it's a bezayon for the tefillin, but it could be that's like inherently a kalas roish, that's a level of kalas roish that is inappropriate for tefillin. It's einoi nachain. Okay, Rabbi, so we'll hold over here, we'll pick it up tomorrow in Sif Beis. Okay, have a good day, everyone. Kol Tov.
I would like to ask, why did Rabbi Yehuda say that Stephen put on?
Recording stop.
Well,
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.